Welcome, everyone. My name is Diana Wynand, and I'd like to welcome you to our San Fernando Valley Climate Reality Project chapter. We are, I would say, a strong advocate for climate change. And tonight, I think in the first few minutes, we're going to share some of the things that we do. And hopefully you'll find, if you're new to us, you'll find opportunities for you to get involved, because we welcome you with open arms to do that. And we have a couple of ways that you can do that. We like to begin every one of our meetings with a land acknowledgement. And so I want to invite, and in fact, we choose someone from our membership, someone who joins our meetings, to read the land acknowledgement. And so tonight we have Frances Lee, who is going to lead the land acknowledgement. Thank you, Frances. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Here on screen.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Thank you. The land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes and respects Indigenous peoples as stewards of this land and the enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous peoples and their traditional territories. It acknowledges the history that has brought us to this land, the colonialism that is present in our current systems, and calls on us to be mindful of our present participation in it. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Tongva, Quiche, Tataviam, and Chumash tribes. And I'd like to add that I live in Moore Park, and there's a traditional territory right to the north of us. It was a little village called Chumash village called Kimishaks. Previous to that, I lived in Vancouver, BC in Canada, and it is a traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And that last one is translated into the people of the inlet. Oh, so it was an education for me too. Thank you.
Very sweet. Thank you so much for sharing that and your personal experience as well. Thanks. And we are now, I believe, ready to kick off with our program. Terry, is there anything that you wanted to say to kick things off? Or?
I think we're good. I think we're all excited to hear about the EVs 101 and what we can all do and what's happening in our community.
Perfect. And sorry for the delay, guys. So Kevin, I think we asked if you might introduce yourself before we get started. So why don't you kick things off and let's dive in.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. So good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Barajas. I am part of the Electric Transportation Programs group here at LADWP. I've been with this group for 6 years. And I've been with the company 7 years. So pretty much all my time I've spent in this group. I've seen it go from just 3 engineers to now we have a total of 8. So we're making progress, developing rebates, incentives, and trying to help electrify LA. So without further ado, let me pull up my presentation. All right, and put the thumbs up if you guys can see it. Perfect. All right. So thank you very much. Let's kick off this presentation and get right into it. So the big message, big takeaway before anyone kind of drifts off or goes into doing other things. EVs are here to stay. I think that's the main takeaway. If you guys take anything from this presentation today, we've tried to get this message across every day as we go. We're advancing a little more, making more of a reality, if you will. We, according to EPRI's consumer guide, we have approximately 175 different EV models. And these range from everything. We have crossovers, there's coupes, minivans, sports cars, sedans, there's trucks. So, now is the time to say, well, there's an option for me out there. There's definitely options for everybody. And I think that's the beauty of EVs, right? And where we're going. But what is LADWP doing to help everybody electrify, to get into these vehicles, and start loving EVs? So what we are offering for our residential customers, we have two programs that are active. The EV charging station rebate program, which offers up to $1,000 for the purchase and installation of a qualifying charging station. On top of that, there's a $250 rebate for the installation of a dedicated EV time of use meter. And for customers who are participants of the Lifeline or EV Safe programs, the low-income discount programs at LADWP, we have a $500 rebate adder. Similarly, so that the first rebate, that's for the actual unit for the charging station. Similarly, for the used EV, if you guys are trying to purchase a used electric vehicle, we offer $1,500 for the purchase of a used EV. And similar to the previous program for customers on Lifeline or Easy Save, there's a $1,000 rebate adder. We are also currently working on a residential smart charging pilot program. And currently we're evaluating available solutions to incentivize EV drivers to charge off-peak. And that will come sometime in the future. So if we can kind of jump into each rebate program and go into the details. So starting with the used electric vehicle rebate program, like I mentioned, the lump sum up to amount that a customer can qualify for is $2,500 for the purchase of a used electric vehicle. One of the nice things about this program is that you do not have to be the LADWP account holder to apply. So if you are renting, if you have roommates living with you, as long as the residence is receiving electric service from LADWP, you are eligible for that electric vehicle. And of course, making sure that you reside at that residence. So, you can get one, your roommate can get one. If you have family members living with you, they purchase an EV, they can get a rebate. And the process is quite simple. We have an approved vehicle list on our website. So, I guess steps to getting this rebate, you go on our list, check out the approved vehicle list, make sure that the vehicle you're trying to purchase is on that list. Once you do, and you find one, if you can check that VIN number and make sure that it hasn't been rebated in the past. One thing that we do limit 2 rebates per VIN. So if you end up buying a vehicle that has been rebated twice, then you would no longer qualify for that rebate. We do have that list of rebates issued on our website as well. So, as long as you check both lists and the vehicle checks off the list. So it's on the approved list, hasn't been rebated more than twice, you can go ahead and make the purchase of the electric vehicle. And then the last step, easiest of them all, you gather all your supporting documents and you apply. You apply for a rebate program. To provide a few options for this specific rebate program, you can apply either electronically. We have an online application. But one thing, so if you are going to apply electronically, you must be the account holder. For those of you that are not account holders, maybe it's the roommate, family member, you can always submit via paper application. And both methods can be found on this website, ladwp.com/used EV rebate. Now, quickly jumping into the next segment. By show of hands, how many of you guys are aware that you can charge an EV using a standard outlet at home? Okay, so there's a few hands. Believe it or not, anytime we do outreach events, we do get quite a few people that do not know this. So we have on the screen, we have three different levels of charging. Level 1, which is pretty much plugging into your standard outlet at home. Depending on your commute, this might be sufficient and you wouldn't need to buy a level 2 charger per se. Now, if you have a longer commute, or if you go on road trips on weekends, maybe use the vehicle a little more, there's the option to get a level 2 vehicle, which offers a little more higher range per hour of charge. And then throughout our service territory, we do have a lot of level 3 chargers, level 3 or DC fast current chargers. And these are pretty much the quick 15-minute pull up, and you'll get a good amount of juice so you can be on your way. And with this in mind, I want to go into the next rebate program that we offer, and that is the residential level 2 charging station rebate program. So as the name implies, this is a rebate for level 2 charging stations. We kind of divided it into 3 different segments on here just to make it a little easier to digest. But the first subcategory, it's the charging station rebate, which is, like I mentioned before, $1,000 towards the purchase and the installation of an eligible charging station. If you want to install a dedicated EV time of use meter, you get a $250 rebate, and you will also benefit from a 2.5 cent per kilowatt hour discount when you charge during the base period. And then the last component for those customers on EasySave or Lifeline, there's a $500 rebate added. Now I wanted to take a moment and highlight the diagram on the bottom half of the presentation slide. So here are the 3 metering options that you have as a customer. And starting from left to right, we have our standard meter, which would simply mean you buy the charger, you install it, you don't touch the meter. You keep everything the same, you stay on the same rate, all is good. You do not get the $250 rebate for that dedicated EV meter. The middle section, that is the time of use meter for the whole house. So if we look at the difference between the leftmost diagram and the middle one, we simply replace that standard meter with a time of use meter. This one is affecting the entire home. So if you are washing during high peak hours, using a dryer, using big appliances, it will affect your bill. So it's an option that, depending on your lifestyle, might be or might not be for you. And the last option all the way to the right, this is the dedicated EV meter or separate time of use meter. And essentially what happens here, the customer installs a separate meter that is dedicated only for the EV charger. So meter for that EV charger qualifies for the $250 rebate, and it also qualifies for that 2.5 cent per kilowatt hour discount. All right, and so summarizing kind of the details of the program. The program offers up to $1,750 to install a level 2 charging station. And the steps here for this program specifically, compared to the USDV program, you do have to be the LADWP account holder to apply. A few steps before you apply: you must have an EV registered at your service address. You must purchase and install the eligible charging station. If you want to install the dedicated time of use meter, you can install it. It is an optional rebate. So you're not required to install the meter to get the charging station rebate. It's an optional rebate. You can get it with the purchase of the charger. You can get it after the purchase of the charger. Once you do your installation, you buy your equipment. Same like the previous UZV rebate program, you gather all of your supporting documents and you apply. And similarly to the UZV rebate program, we have both methods of applying. So you can apply electronically online, or if you prefer paper, we do have that option available. And that information can be found on the residential EV rebate website, which is ladwp.com/residential EV rebate. Now, we've already covered the situation where you can get a rebate for your home, you can get a rebate for the vehicle. What happens when you're on the road, away from home, or on your way to work? How do you find a charging station near you? So one website that we like to recommend and that we see a lot of people use is PlugShare, plugshare.com. This website maps out charging stations across the nation. From the diagram on the right, this is charging stations in the LADWP service territory. And, from that picture, it's pretty hard to see the outline of LADWP service territory because of the number of charging stations available. So there's a lot of charging stations out there. No need to worry about range anxiety. A few of the highlights. The next few charging stations are on that PlugShare website, and they are also charging stations that LADWP owns and maintains. We are starting with our charging plaza over at the Crenshaw Customer Service Center. So this plaza has 16 level 2 chargers and 4 DC fast chargers for the higher end charging stations. Customers can visit the center to pay their bills, ask questions. While they are paying bills, they can charge their EV. Now, LADWP also has a curbside charger pilot that we did a while ago. And under this pilot, we installed approximately 50 level 2 charging stations on our wooden poles. Some of them look like this. These were the original chargers. We've also installed a different variants, different models, but the concept is the same. As long as you are able to find one, it's open, available. You pull up, plug in, you are charging. And last but not least, to highlight the bigger power DC fast chargers. We also have these throughout our service territory. Here are a few highlights of a few charging stations next to our distribution stations. The top pictures, and then the middle picture. This is the DC fast charger over at our headquarters. So we do have those high powered DC fast chargers available to the public. And to kind of wrap it up, if you guys have any questions, you can definitely visit our website, ladwp.com/EV for the most updated program information. This covers all of our programs. I know the main focus here is residential, but we also have a commercial rebate program. Anyone interested can find more information there or type in your questions in the chat. And any additional questions that you might have, you can always reach out to a program support specialist at pluginla@ladwp.com or the phone number. That's it for me.
Kevin, thank you very much. We appreciate that sort of foundational information. We're going to switch next to Laura Iannaccone. Laura, are you, I think you've
Yes.
come onto the screen. Go ahead and introduce
Oops.
yourself. And as you do, I'm going to switch the spotlight so that everybody can focus on you. There we go.
Yeah, and I'll just introduce myself. I'm trying to share. I'm Laura Iannaccone. I've been with the County of Los Angeles for a little over 4 years. I was previously with the City of New York working on various sustainability issues with the Bloomberg administration and the New York City Department of Education. And with the county, I'm responsible for installing 15,000 charging stations. Just a second. I'm trying to share. Can you guys see it?
Yes, we can, Laura.
Yes. Okay. My presentation function is not working, so sorry about that. You'll just have to so when I first joined the county, we had about 300 charging stations, and they were primarily installed for those first adopters, the wealthy doctors, the administrator, executives of the county. So they were really clustered in downtown Los Angeles. But we're now expanding out into all of our districts for district equity. We have a lot more publicly accessible charging stations. We install in parks, libraries. We have a lot of charging stations going into our beaches along the PCH, and those are all going to be publicly accessible. So our goal is not just to install for county employees and our fleet. That is a huge goal of ours, but it's really to serve our vast public throughout all of the districts in the county. We're currently at this 1,300 charging stations, a little bit old. We have almost 1,400 charging stations, so inching towards our 15,000 charging station goal. And we're at almost 80 sites now, so, and growing. We utilize LADWP's Charge Up program. We also utilize other rebate programs such as SCE Charge Ready. Our initiative is not funded, much like a lot of public initiatives. So we really have to go after a lot of publicly available funds. What we've also done is try to streamline our network. So we had various networks through various companies, but now we are trying to streamline, and we're almost there at 100% of our charging stations using what's called PowerFlex. You may not heard of them, but they are a company that offers managed charging so that there's less strain on the grid when you have high utilization at our charging stations. It's an app-based system, unfortunately, so you do have to download another app. But the great thing about it is you can use that PowerFlex app at any county location. So we're at the Disney Music Hall, Music Center. We're trying to install at all of our large sites and all of our parks and libraries. We have about 50 or plan for charging stations at about 15 libraries so far. And so I wanted to highlight, because I was tasked with talking about equity, a few of the grants that we sought and won. The first is, it's called REACH. It's the Reliable, Equity, and Accessible Charging for Multifamily. This is putting in charging stations at our Los Angeles County Development Authority housing. We operate senior and low-income housing. So we're putting solar-backed charging at these facilities. We're also putting in new technology, testing resilient technology. So there's a device, it's called the EV Arc, that we're putting at a couple, in addition to solar canopy backed charging stations. We're also looking at workforce development. So we're building out an EVSE training program that targets anybody who is interested or has impact on charging station projects, from the planning to the installation, and most importantly, the maintenance of the charging stations. So we don't just put them in, we have a robust maintenance program as well. The county has about 98.5% uptime on average, which is not great. That means 1.5% are down, but it's better than the state average. And that's because we're trying to train our existing workforce, but build out the workforce for the entire region. So we're in the middle of that. We're piloting that. We're working with Cerritos Community College, and then that curriculum will be shared with other community colleges. We're also hoping to share that curriculum with other entities so that they can train incumbent workers as well as existing workers. And some of these, just this picture here, we've trained, we worked with a group called the California Conservation Corps. We worked with a group of Corps members to teach them on EVSE installation. And we have a third grant we just won. It's an $8 million grant. It's for 300 level 2 charging stations in the East Los Angeles area. And that's putting in street side charging and level 2 charging around public housing, at libraries and parks. And that's, and I just wanted to mention for all of these and all of the grants and programs that we work with, we really try to engage the community. So we don't just put the infrastructure in, and it's not simply putting in charging stations. We're trying to get information and feedback from the community on clean mobility options and opportunities that they're interested in, so that we're not just putting the infrastructure in and walking away. And on that, we do a lot of outreach. So after we complete a charging station project, we hold community events. We invite CBOs to participate, and a lot of our key partners to educate the public on electric vehicles. We have a platform that I'll talk about in a minute. It's called Electrifies. It's an online EV awareness platform. We teach users how to use the app. Sometimes it's as simply as educating them and having them plug the charging station into the vehicle. There are a lot of small barriers that we try to address through these outreach events. So we try to hold as many as possible. We're a small team, but we work night and weekends to reach out to the community and continue to get information that feeds into successful programs that the county implements. So Electrifies has been being built out over the past couple of years. It was built primarily for county employees, but now it's accessible to the public. Anybody can log in to Electrifies. It's an online platform. They have various events that the community can participate in with free giveaways. And it teaches them about, the basics of an electric vehicle. And more importantly, how to access those rebates and incentives. And then what does that electric vehicle ownership look like when you walk out of the dealership? This is just an outline of what it covers. It's like I said, been built out pretty robust over the past couple of years. There's a lot of great feedback. I encourage you to log in. There's also something called a car buying coach. It was a one-on-one person-to-person coach. Now it's more online based, but if you use Electrifies and end up buying an electric vehicle, you get $20 for charging on your PowerFlex wallet. So a small incentives, but something, the public is huge, so our budget's not that big. And this is just these are for some of our partners. So our largest partners like LADWP, but we also work with a lot of community groups. So most of our grants, everything we do is community-based. We try to reach out to CBOs and other groups in any community we work with. And that's it. I try to keep it short for questions at the end.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. That's terrific. We appreciate that very much. Well, we have some questions, and it looks like a few things have conversations have been started, but I just want to go back and pick one up. Robert Mason was asking what type of connector is on the charging stations, and I don't know, is that a Kevin question, or either one of you can respond to it.
Yeah, definitely. So
You started that answer already, I see.
yes. So if Robert, if you're referring to the types of connectors on the LADWP owned chargers, we have the J1772, which is the standard level 2 connector that charges most vehicles. Tesla vehicles would need the adapter. We have CHAdeMO and CCS connectors for the level 3 chargers, or the DC fast chargers. I hope that answers the question.
Great. And then,
And same for the county as well. We have some DC fast chargers with 2 ports, one with the CCS and one with CHAdeMO, but primarily it's the J1772, which is the standard. If they ever switch to the next, they can get an adapter. If we ever have funding, once we put in 15,000 charging stations to switch everything out, if that's what's coming, but.
Interesting. And then Nikki Alvarado asked, do you know the total number of EV chargers in Los Angeles? I heard a few numbers being sort of batted around, but maybe you can respond to that. I know, like, Kevin, you showed that picture and there were a lot of dots, but, LA is really big. And I just, wonder if there's enough to cover the need. So please respond to that.
Yes, definitely. I'm trying to think of the number in my head, but I don't want to throw misinformation.
You didn't go pull the dashboard up, huh? Well, good thing you brought your supervisor to the meeting.
There we go.
25,000 commercial chargers just here in the city of Los Angeles, and far more than that throughout the county. These are the ones that are commercially available. So this doesn't include the ones that people have installed in their personal garages. We've gone a long way. But that is only a fraction of the 45,000 chargers we think are going to be needed by 2025, and 120,000 chargers needed just in the city alone. That's 1.2 million chargers we expect are going to be necessary in the state of California. So please spread the word. Their chargers are out there. Go ahead and adopt electric vehicles, but we have a lot more chargers that need to show up in neighborhoods. Keep advocating for those.
And did you mention, Greg, the timeline for when you anticipate those additional chargers to come on board? Or is it just as many as you can, as fast as you can?
We are in the as many as you can, as fast as you can, but we do have targets from the state. The California Energy Commission has studied this, and they are just now updating the totals, so don't ask me for the new ones. But there's a target for 2025 that we had previously in a staff report. And 2030, that's the 1.2 million number. They are now doing a forecast for 2035, the same year, where advanced clean cars 2 will go into effect, where you no longer will be able to sell an internal combustion engine in the state of California.
Right. What year was that again?
2035 was when
the
sale this is for passenger vehicles. And then CARB has also made some regulations this last year to affect the class 3 through class 8 trucks, where a significant portion of the NOx and particulate matter emissions comes from. And these vehicles are driving mostly on the freeways next to red line communities and our most vulnerable citizens. So it's not only, we focused on a lot of light duty and residential stuff here, but we are all doing a lot of work that is necessary in the full transportation sector to electrify everything.
Excellent. Yes. And we've actually been a producer of a show called The Ask Sean Show, which is how to electrify your home from appliances at that personal individual home level. One of the questions that has come up is, which we followed in the legislative session, is bidirectional EV charging. And the bill did not pass. And I don't know, Kathy or Cheryl, if you want to speak to that. In terms of how badly it did not, pass. But what is your feeling Greg, Kevin, or Laura about that? It seems to make a ton of sense. We're not quite sure why the legislature was not forward thinking enough to adopt it.
So you're talking about SB 233, Nancy Skinner's bill. Nancy Skinner, who's been a tremendous leader for the Clean Transportation Program.
Yes.
The bill is not dead. This is a 2-year bill, right? So yes, it got gutted in committee, and her colleagues did not see this issue the same way she did, and she felt so strongly about it that she said, "I'm not going to let it go to a vote. We're going to try again next year." The automakers have said that this could increase the battery sizes 20 to 30%. There's concerns about cost. So my personal view on it is that we know that the electrification of the transportation sector actually puts downward pressure on rates. So the cost for all the wires and the charging that we need pales in comparison to the amount of energy that we spend on gasoline for our vehicles. So electricity is about 1/3 of the cost of gasoline, 1/3 to a half, depending on the gas prices. If we switch over to paying that toward our electricity, that brings down the electricity rates for everybody. We're better utilizing our power plants, and it's a better use of all of that money. I don't know if that's still true when we talk about bidirectional power. What are the costs going to be required to the vehicles? There are very few of them that are out there on the market capable of it today. What's the increased integration cost to the chargers? The only charger that I know of available that does that is thousands of dollars, as opposed to hundreds of dollars. You can go pick up the level 2 charger at Costco right now. And then there's a safety factor that we know how to use electricity. It comes from my power plant and goes to your house. When it can go both ways, we've turned the power off, and there's a line person that is working on that line that may rely on the power being off for their life. So we have a lot of more work to do on the standards of that. I think it's a great idea to require it in the future, to require that CEC and CPUC study this and come up with recommendations to move the industry forward. Nancy Skinner believes that we need a hard mandate, and that's the things that moves things forward too. And I think we're both right.
Excellent. Great. Either of you have anything else to add to that? Laura or Kevin?
We're hoping for more regulation and standardization as well. We just don't think the technology is there yet, although we're hoping to pilot it. The county operates communication towers that have to be shut off when there are forest fires. And so we do need some resilient power. And I think once we go all electric, then we're going to have to rely on technology such as V2G. So we are hoping, we are looking, talking to various partners on technologies that we can pilot and roll out. We're the county, we operate sheriff fire stations. We can't go down at any given point, especially in an emergency, especially in outages.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Good point. I know somebody has your hand up. We just have a couple more questions that had come in previous to this. So one is, if you don't have solar, should you get an EV? Or to turn that around, should I get an EV if I don't have solar? I know that's there's probably a lot of ways to go with that, but can you address that? Yeah,
so the first argument that I normally make is financial. Maybe I should make the emissions argument with this group first. The efficiency that we have in the power plants, even though we're well aware that we're using natural gas alongside solar and wind, we prefer the renewable resources when they are available, but we cannot meet 100% of our load, especially on a hot day when everybody's air conditioners are on. So if you were able to run natural gas into your vehicles, that would reduce the emissions beyond what the gasoline is there. If we were able to do that in a big centralized power plant, where we then take the hot gases out of that and do it efficiently, we're able to do that with a lot less fossil fuel and produce that energy and deliver it to you in wires. So even though you're not getting 100% emissions-free source of electricity, you are reducing your emissions right there. At the same time, you're now investing into the grid, which is greening every year by law. Putting in solar definitely helps hedge the cost of the electricity. Your electric bill is going to go up if you charge your car at home. It's probably going to go up by about 50%. However, that represents a net savings for most people versus going to the gasoline pump. You save about $330 per year, and then about another $700 per year in maintenance. I've owned an EV for 6 years, and I've had to change the wiper blades in it. That's it.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I'm
Joe,
seeing Kristen say the same thing. Anybody?
and
These I didn't see the hands before. I'm sorry to ask it again, but
yeah.
And I did see a presentation that now under NEM 2.0 that there are more benefits if you have solar and battery. But I don't have solar. I don't have a level 2 charger at home. I rely on workplace charging. So we really advocate for that daytime charging. It's just a switch. Don't empty your battery completely and then use a DC fast charger on a weekend the same way you would fuel up at a gas station. Charge wherever you can. You can use a level 1 at home, and it's more convenient. You're not driving around to a gas station, waiting in line at a gas station. And like Greg said, the maintenance is very simple. I lease my car. I take it in once to refill the windshield wiper fluid.
Very interesting. Okay. And on solar, Vivian asked about, where are we with adding solar panels to the EVs themselves to power them? Are we anywhere near that? I mean, that just seems to make so much sense, but
there is a manufacturer. Do you remember, Kevin, who's doing that? I can talk about the specs of it. Huh?
I'm trying to remember the manufacturer, but I can't recall the name.
LG.
And Musk did abandon that.
There
was
is
beneficial.
so a typical solar panel that you're going to put on your house is going to produce what, 250, 300 watts. You can maybe I've looked into this. I can put it onto my car and maybe produce about 1,000 watts. The level 2 charger that Kevin's talking about is producing 7,200 watts. So you would need far more solar panels covering that space just for a charger that is then going to take hours to refill your tank, right? So you would need to have a football field of solar panels behind you to be able to continue driving that whole time. But I'm going to also answer the question about range anxiety at the same time.
okay.
We drive an average of 25 miles per day. Many of us have longer commutes and need more of that. But a car that has a 238-mile range like mine, I need to charge it once a week, maybe. So if you have those solar panels that are sitting out there, our cars also sit for 19 hours a day on average. Now, the sun's not up for all of that, but if you're able to park that out in the garage or out in the sun, you can slowly recharge that battery and maybe not need to visit a charger for months on the average. So that's the real selling point of that one manufacturer that's tried it. You do need to spend $250,000, I think, to get that vehicle. So yeah, it's a numbers game. It makes sense. It's technically possible, but it is an expensive way to do that. Solar panels on your roof will help bring you that down. LADWP does not move to NEM 3.0. So if you happen to be one of our customers, you haven't missed the deadline under the higher incentive payments for solar. But I bet you we will. So don't waste. If you're considering solar right now, go for it. Please.
Okay. And the rebates are there or will be coming.
There is the tax incentives. The federal tax incentives have been extended. LADWP's incentive program has sunsetted. Thank you for all those of you who took early advantage of it and were early adopters, but now solar makes a lot of financial sense without public assistance.
Great. Thank you. Joe, you've had your hand up. Would you like to voice your question? And if you have other questions, folks, go ahead and pop it in the chat or turn your hand on so we can acknowledge you. Joe?
Yes, quickly. Are we getting to a point where there'll be electric charging stations on corners rather than gas stations? Is that something that we'll be seeing? Because I could drive and I'll see 5 or 6 gas stations on my way to work, and I have a 2-mile drive to work. And I'm just curious, is that going to become a reality where there'll be a charging station instead of a gas station?
There's 1,900 gas pumps in the city of LA, and we're going to need at least that many chargers by the time the 2028 Olympics comes. So I think it will exist. There's a lot of questions about the business model though, right? One, if you had gasoline piped to your house, would you ever go to a gas station? And that's a question that I sometimes ask people. If you didn't need to go buy gas, would you ever go to a gas station? And for most people, it's no. You can go get the stuff that's in the convenience store elsewhere. But the reason that the gas pump is there is so that you will buy the sodas and the cigarettes and the other things that they really make their markup on. So there's businesses that want you there for that 5 minutes you've got to wait to fuel up your vehicle. Now, electric is going to be a different thing if you're going to be using DC fast chargers in the public, because not everybody has access to charging at home. Over 50% of Los Angeles lives in multifamily dwellings and doesn't even have access to parking. So we're going to need some sort of a public solution for that. The businesses that I have seen that want to have you there for the longer amount of time that it takes for the DC fast charger, 20 to maybe up to an hour. Target has put a lot of those in their parking lot. I've seen Starbucks interested in putting in chargers. 7-Eleven wants to have you there. So I think that there is an emerging market that some of these retailers are going to want to subsidize electric vehicle charging the same way that the convenience store owners subsidize gasoline. I mean, they're making a little bit of a profit, but when you buy a gallon of gas, 5 cents goes to that operator. Big Oil is taking a big cut of that.
I'd just like to add, Greg, that I was at a conference and they had their transportation person for all of Walmart. And they said that is what they would like to gain for, but they need some public assistance to put all of these in. But that's what they'd want. Every Walmart is within 10 minutes of everybody would have a charger.
Yeah, and if you've gone on an electric road trip, you've probably spent some time in a Walmart. However you feel about that company, that is where Electrify America's chargers have gone across this country.
Interesting. Yeah, I see Kathy's note, the 4 chargers in her Ralph's parking lot are busy 24/7. And I believe it was Christy on one of our calls that was talking about having a difficult time finding a free charger, meaning, you need to get charged, but they're all in use. Is that just going to be a matter of time to expand the availability to meet what seems to be a really growing need?
Yeah, because it was a big problem with the I have a little Fiat, so it takes like an hour and a half or 2 hours to charge fully. But the chargers are always filled with Teslas that need 15 hours. And that makes it really hard.
Yeah, I can say we have thousands of chargers, but there are not enough, right? This is becoming a problem more and more, and it's a California problem right now. Drivers outside of California, where we don't have the population of electric vehicles, aren't quite seeing the crowding at charging stations. 1 in every 4 cars sold in California is an electric vehicle this year. We are expanding the population of EVs much faster than we're expanding the population of chargers. It takes an automaker, 6 to 9 months to go take the raw materials and have it ready to deliver to you. It can take us years to bring in the necessary power. 2 to 3 years is the average time it can take to bring power to a site that does not have it already.
And
so
I would say don't look for a free charging station because it's never going to be available.
Oh, I just mean available by free. I just mean open.
Free. Oh,
not free, just open. Yeah, because
there's a trend that's going on right now with people who buy new vehicles that they get a year free charging, let's say. So there's a lot of people that are then taking up those chargers because that's the economic choice where they would be normally charging at home. I said I've owned an EV for 5 years. I charged at level 1 at home because every once in a while when I needed that trip to the DC fast charger, it was available. I had time to sit around. I'd take my daughter to have some coffee and we played and we talked. That's no longer an option for me in my mind because you just I can't pick any time of day and just go look for a DC fast charger, which as an EV guy, I hate to say it, right? It's not the same experience as gas. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better because so many of us are buying EVs. But that is why the federal government has put $7.5 billion, if you take both programs together, into building out this nationwide network of fast DC chargers that need to be reliable.
And Greg, I don't know if you're finding this, but when I go to an Electrify America, and I don't have a deal with my OEM for 1 or 2 years of free charging, that for the most part, the Electrify America are down. So there's one of several that's operational, typically, if at all. So I don't know if they're shutting them down to reduce the amount of electricity they have to put out because they have all of these deals with so many OEMs. I've written to this to state on that regulation to not just put money in the hands of the installers, but require that they be operational if they get any state funds for at least 10 years. And so I do think it requires the public in reaching out to all of your stakeholders to make sure that they're operational, because I don't know, but I suspect that they're keeping them off because they're down a lot, and they're down for months or years.
And Laura, you mentioned when you were speaking about a connector, and I will go places sometimes and see nothing but Tesla chargers, but not all EVs use the Tesla charger. I mean, is that an issue, or are we coming to some sort of consensus about what type of charger connector to use, or where are we with that?
Kevin showed you the chart at the beginning with hundreds of EV models, right? I like to point out that the Tesla superchargers only work with 4 of those available models. There are a lot of Teslas on the road, and there are a lot of Tesla superchargers, but they have built out a reliable network in one company that is vertically integrated. And they see the need to, you're not going to sell electric cars unless you have electric charging options, right? Most people are not going to search out. I can show you the apps, Christy, and the times that you can look and make sure here's the one that's empty, but we don't want to play games trying to fuel our vehicles. We just need to go on with our lives. So Tesla has opened up that connector standard. Many OEMs have announced that they will adopt it, but that does not mean that just because the plug fits doesn't mean it starts charging, right? You remember the days of getting an Apple accessory and it would say, hey, you bought from the wrong company because we've locked it down. I'm worried about stuff like that. Tesla, we don't know what's in the deals that Tesla has signed with these CEOs. We don't know what the OEMs are paying Tesla to operate the back office for that. There is a push on outside of Tesla for interoperability, right? Different companies operate the chargers, then build the chargers and build the vehicles. And standards allow us to be able to buy things that you can go anywhere, right? You can take the SIM card out of your cell phone, no matter what brand you buy and no matter what network you carry it on. That's where we need to go with electric vehicles. And right now it looks like we're going to have multiple connectors for a while. But there is a lot of push, including from Tesla, to come to the table and learn how to work with other companies. And I think that it's going to take the next legislative session, talk about reliability and talk about interoperability, because your lawmakers are, and they need to hear from you. If you want to be able to buy a vehicle that you can take to a charger anywhere and be able to have the consumer choice, we should protect that and let them know.
Great. Thank you, Greg. I think you're right. Kathy just popped into the chat. We had a meeting this morning with Assemblywoman Irwin, and this came up. So maybe we can help support that, a bill like that coming through. This has been so helpful. Any last questions coming through before we wrap our program, or any thoughts or notes any of our presenters want to add? This has been really helpful, very illuminating. Anybody? Either raise your hand or use the hand emoji or pop it, a question into the chat. Looks like we may have covered everybody's question. Great. Thank you. I just want to thank our speakers tonight, Greg, Kevin, and Laura. Thank you guys so much for being here. And Greg, it's pretty late your time, so appreciate you hanging in there with us. So if everybody wants to unmute and say woohoo, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Hear
it.
the appreciation coming through the
Thank you.
coming
Good
through
talk.
Wi-Fi. So thank you very much, guys.